Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're tackling Atomic Habits.
Ooh, yeah, one of those books everyone's talking about.
It really is. So get this, one of the first things they talk about is this idea that tiny changes can lead to massive results. Kind of hard to believe at first, right?
It is, but the video makes a really good point. Like, think about an airplane.
Okay, listening.
If the pilot changes the plane's direction by just like 3 degrees at takeoff,
Seems small.
it is, but over a long flight, it could land the plane in a totally different country.
Wow, okay. I see where you're going with this.
It's the same with habits. Like, if you improve just 1% each day, guess what?
What?
In a year, you'll be 38 times better.
No way. That's why.
It's the power of consistency. Those small changes add up big time. But there's a flip side, too, of course.
I was just thinking that. What about those bad habits?
Exactly. They compound, too. Think about procrastination, stress. Those things can really snowball if we're not careful.
You're telling me. Okay, so we got to tackle those bad habits, but how? I feel like everyone talks about setting goals.
Right. And this video actually challenges that. It says focusing on systems is way more effective.
Systems instead of goals.
Exactly. Because a goal is like a finish line, right?
Yeah.
But systems are about the whole race.
So instead of just wanting to finish a marathon,
Yeah.
I should focus on becoming a runner.
Yeah. It's about building that identity and the habits that go along with it.
I like that. So how do we actually build those systems?
Well, the book introduces these 4 laws of behavior change.
Okay, I've heard of those, but honestly, I need a reminder.
No worries. The video breaks them down in a really clear way. Plus, they connect it to, like, the science of habit formation.
Awesome. Lay it on me. What's the first law?
Make it obvious. Basically, you got to become aware of your habits, the good and the bad.
Right. Got to know what you're working with.
Exactly. And the video talks about the strategy called implementation intentions.
Ooh, that sounds fancy.
It's actually pretty simple. Instead of just saying, I'll exercise more, you get super specific. Like, I will go for a 30-minute walk at 7 a.m. in my neighborhood.
So no more vague promises to myself.
Exactly. And another cool strategy is habit stacking.
That's
It's basically linking a new habit to an existing one. Like, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 5 minutes.
Oh, that's smart. Piggybacking on something you already do.
Totally makes the new habit more likely to stick. Okay, ready for law, #2.
Hit me.
Make it attractive. This is where dopamine comes in, that feel-good brain chemical.
Oh, yeah. Dopamine's my jam.
Right. Well, we're driven by the anticipation of rewards, so we gotta use that to our advantage.
How do we do that?
One way is temptation bundling. You pair something you want to do with something you need to do.
Ooh. Give me an example.
Like, you only allow yourself to watch your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
Oh, I see. So I'm actually looking forward to the treadmill time.
Exactly. You're way more likely to do it if it's linked to something enjoyable.
Makes sense. Any other ways to make habits attractive?
The video also talks about surrounding yourself with people who already have the habits you want.
So, like, if I want to be a runner, I should hang out with runners.
Yep. Makes it feel more normal, more achievable.
Okay, I can see that. What's next?
All right. The third law is make it easy. It's all about reducing friction in your environment.
So, like, if I want to go to the gym, it should be super easy to get there.
Exactly. If it's on your way to work or just a short walk from home, you're way more likely to go.
Makes total sense. Oh, and there's that 2-minute rule. I love it.
Yeah. Instead of aiming for a full workout, just commit to putting on your workout clothes for 2 minutes.
Sometimes that's all it takes, right? Once you start, you're more likely to keep going.
Totally. Okay, ready for the final law.
Bring it on.
Make it satisfying. This one's about making those good habits feel rewarding, so we're more likely to keep doing them.
How do we do that?
Visual tracking can be really powerful, like using a habit tracker app or even a simple marble jar.
Oh, yeah. It's like a visual reminder of your progress.
Exactly. And of course, accountability is huge. Having someone to check in with or even a consequence for slipping up can really help.
I definitely need that extra push sometimes. So we've covered how to make a habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
We have. And in the next part, we'll dive into how the YouTuber in the video used these laws in his own life.
I'm excited to hear about that. It's always inspiring to see how these concepts work in the real world.
Me too. It's going to give us tons of ideas for how we can apply these principles to our own habits.
Can't wait. Welcome back to our deep dive. We just finished talking about the 4 laws of behavior change.
Such a cool framework, right?
It is. But I'm curious, how do we stay patient while those tiny changes are, doing their thing?
That's where understanding the valley of disappointment comes in.
I've heard that, but remind me.
It's basically that dip in motivation we all feel when we're putting in the work but not seeing those huge results yet.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
It's totally natural. Think of it like planting a seed, right?
Okay.
You don't see the sprout right away, but underground, those roots are growing.
I see. So it's about trusting the process.
Exactly. Those small, consistent actions are building something bigger. Patience is key here.
Easier said than done, though. Any tips for staying motivated during that valley?
Definitely. One thing that helps is focusing on the process, not just the outcome.
Explain that.
So instead of obsessing over, say, losing 10 pounds, find joy in the daily act of exercising.
So, like, enjoying that feeling of getting stronger with each workout.
Exactly. You're celebrating those small wins along the way.
And that helps us stay consistent.
It does. Plus, you're not just working towards a goal, you're actually changing your identity.
What do you mean?
Well, with each workout, you're becoming a person who prioritizes exercise, you're becoming a runner or weightlifter, whatever it is.
So it's about becoming that person, not just achieving a single goal.
Exactly. And that makes it way more likely that the habit will stick.
Okay, back to that make it attractive law for a sec. The video talked about understanding our motives, like why we do the things we do.
Right. It's not always about those surface level desires.
So, like, why am I really reaching for that bag of chips?
Maybe you're actually craving comfort or connection, not just the chips themselves.
That's interesting.
Even in today's world, we're driven by these ancient needs like conserving energy or feeling accepted.
And those needs can show up in, well, not so healthy ways sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like that urge to scroll social media could be about wanting connection, right?
Yeah, but instead of mindlessly scrolling, I could actually reach out to a friend.
There you go. You're addressing the underlying need in a more fulfilling way.
Okay, so being aware of those deeper motives can help us make healthier choices.
Absolutely. Now, the video also talks about kind of reprogramming your brain to make good habits more appealing.
How would you do that?
It's all about shifting your perspective. Instead of focusing on how much you dread going to the gym, highlight the energy you'll gain.
Or instead of seeing saving money as a sacrifice, focus on the freedom it'll give you later.
Exactly. You're changing your mental association with the habit.
And we can do the opposite for bad habits, right?
Yeah. Focus on the negative consequences. Like if you're trying to quit smoking, think about the health risks and the money you're wasting.
So it becomes less appealing because you're associating it with those downsides.
Exactly. And this all ties back to identity. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you're more likely to make healthy choices.
Makes sense. So make it easy. Any other tips for reducing friction? We talked about environment, but what else?
Oh, tons of stuff. Like if you want to drink more water, carry a water bottle everywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Or keep a book on your bedside table if you want to read more. Or download audiobooks for your commute.
Love those little hacks. Makes it so much easier to stick with those habits.
And for breaking bad habits, do the opposite. Make it harder to do the thing you don't want to do.
So if I'm trying to cut back on screen time, maybe I put my phone in another room.
Or turn off those tempting notifications. Okay, last but not least, make it satisfying.
This is where we make those good habits feel good, right?
Yep. And often, that satisfaction comes from seeing progress, no matter how small.
So visual tracking, like using a habit tracker app, can really help.
It can. And don't forget about rewards. Maybe it's a relaxing bath after a healthy meal or a new book after hitting a reading goal.
Ooh, I like that. Rewards are always motivating.
They are. And on the flip side, sometimes we need a little pain to discourage those bad habits.
Like consequences.
Exactly. That's where accountability comes in. You could set up a habit contract, either with yourself or a friend.
What's a habit contract?
Basically, if you slip up, there's a consequence. Maybe you donate to a charity you don't like or do a chore you hate.
Ooh, gotta make it heard.
The key is it needs to be immediate and meaningful, something you can't easily ignore.
We've all talked ourselves out of consequences before.
Totally. Having that external accountability system, especially at first, can be a game changer.
Okay, back to the YouTuber's real-life examples. We talked about his workouts.
Remember how he used implementation intentions, designed his environment, and used that 2-minute rule?
Yeah, and he prepped everything the night before, like laying out his workout clothes.
Such a good idea. Removes that extra bit of friction in the morning.
And he put his phone away. No distractions allowed.
It's all about creating a space and a routine that supports the habit. Plus, he used a habit tracker to see his progress.
And took pictures of his results to share with his partner for accountability.
Love that. Closing that feedback loop. He also talked about being patient. Real change takes time.
Okay, what about his reading habit? He used habit stacking for that one, right?
He did. linked his reading to his morning coffee routine, plus designated a specific spot for reading, no distractions.
And started small, just 1 page a day.
Yeah. From there, he worked his way up to 90 minutes. Small steps, big results.
Now, what about reducing his social media use? That's always a tough one.
It is. He started by making his phone super boring, deleted distracting apps, kept it out of sight.
Aha. So he increased the friction.
He did. And he reframed his thinking, focused on the negative side of social media.
Like how it can be a time suck and make you feel bad about yourself.
Exactly. He wanted to be a producer, not just a consumer, do things that were more fulfilling.
I like that. And remember the accountability part. He'd pay his partner $10 if she caught him on social media during work.
That's commitment. So there you have it, 3 examples of how to apply the 4 laws.
Super inspiring to see how they work in real life.
It is. It shows that these aren't just abstract ideas. They're tools we can all use to make lasting change.
Absolutely. And in the next part, we'll wrap everything up and talk about the key takeaways from this deep dive into atomic habits. All right, back for the final part of our Atomic Habits deep dive. It's been quite a journey so far.
It has, and I think it's safe to say that we've both learned a ton about, the power of small changes and all that.
For sure. I mean, who knew that a tiny 1% improvement each day could add up to such massive results over time? It's crazy.
It really is. And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me has been this whole idea of patience.
Right.
Like not getting discouraged when we don't see those big changes right away.
Right. Because it's not about instant gratification, it's about consistency and trusting the process.
Totally. Remember that seed analogy.
Oh.
We might not see the growth above ground at first, but those roots are busy taking hold beneath the surface.
Yeah, and eventually that little seed is going to sprout and blossom into something amazing.
Exactly. And I think that's such a good reminder for us, especially when we're stuck in that valley of disappointment and feeling frustrated that things aren't moving fast enough.
It's like trust the process, keep watering that seed, and eventually you'll see the results.
I love that. And I think another thing that's really helped me is that shift in focus from the outcome to the process.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. It's about enjoying the journey, not just obsessing over the destination.
Right. Like if you're training for that marathon, it's about celebrating those daily runs and feeling yourself getting stronger.
Instead of just fixating on crossing that finish line, which, don't get me wrong, is still an amazing goal.
Of course. But it's about finding that joy in the everyday actions, in the process of becoming a runner.
I like that, becoming a runner. It's not just about achieving a single goal. It's about transforming your identity.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens, I think. When you start to see yourself as that person, those habits become so much easier to stick with.
It's like they become a natural part of who you are, not just something you're forcing yourself to do.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Atomic Habits so powerful. It's not just about, hacks or quick fixes. It's a whole new way of thinking about personal growth.
Yeah, it's a framework for change that's based on, actual science and human psychology.
Totally. And it gives us practical tools that we can apply to any area of our lives.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first and foremost, remember the power of small changes. Those 1% improvements might seem tiny at first, but trust me, they compound over time like you wouldn't believe.
It's the snowball effect in action. Don't underestimate those tiny actions because they can lead to massive results.
Another big one is focusing on systems, not just goals. Design a system that supports your desired habits. Make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
It's about setting yourself up for success, right?
Right.
Creating an environment that makes those good habits almost inevitable.
Exactly. And last but not least, be patient. Change takes time. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be that valley of disappointment, but don't give up.
It's a journey, not a sprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate the small wins along the way and remember that you're constantly evolving.
Totally. And hey, if you're looking for one small change you can make today, think about how you can redesign your environment to support the person you want to become.
What little tweaks can you make to your surroundings, to your routines, that will nudge you in the right direction?
I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Atomic Habits.
It's been a blast. And remember, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep building those atomic habits that will shape your future self.